Hello, everybody, and welcome to Real Shame, a 2 times a week, sometimes more show where we talk about our list of movie blind spots. My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
Last time we talked about Her with Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Spike Jonze. We're moving ahead, I think, a couple of years to talk about another artificial intelligence film.
That's
this
written
time,
and directed by the same person.
Yeah, Alex Garland.
Yep.
And it's definitely more serious than Her, but it is 2014, 15. Why didn't I look that up?
I don't
It's
have
2014-15. It's called Ex Machina.
Is Nathan your friend?
My friend? Yeah, I hope so.
A good friend?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, not a good friend. A good friend is, we only just met each other, you know? So it takes time to be able to get to know each other, I guess.
Power cut. Backup power activated.
Ex Machina.
Ex
It's a
Machina.
movie that you have not ever seen.
Also, it's a movie that I haven't seen.
And so again, kind of quick recap of the plot. It's not hugely complicated, I guess. You've got Domhnall Gleeson, who plays a character named Caleb. He works for a search engine company called Blue Book.
Yep.
Not Kelly Blue Book, but another Blue Book, which is a search engine. Doesn't really say what time frame this movie is in. Could be present day, could be
I think it's supposed to be like near future.
Near future.
I think I was reading on IMDb, sorry, that
Oh.
he wanted it like kind of 10 minutes in the future.
Ah.
Where like if Apple computers announced an artificial intelligence would be like, oh, that's surprising, but we kind of saw it coming kind of stuff.
Understand. Good. Gotcha. So Caleb, played by Domhnall Gleeson, works for Blue Book, which is owned by Oscar Isaac's character Nathan, and he is this eccentric genius guy
Yep.
who apparently owns an entire hemisphere of the world. I don't know,
Yeah.
but Caleb is taken via helicopter and dropped off near his compound, I guess, his house.
He kind of
Where-
wins a lottery and gets ushered to his house.
Right. It's because he's apparently the best coder or whatever that
Yeah.
works at Blue Book. So he goes to spend, I think it's a week's time
Yeah.
at Oscar Isaac or Nathan's house. And while he's there, he is tasked with performing a Turing test, what is known as a Turing test, and we will get into what that is here in a second. He's tasked to perform a Turing test with an android, basically, that Oscar Isaac's character Nathan has built. Her name is Ava, A-V-A.
Yep.
The only other person in the house is Kyoko, who is a mute Asian woman who apparently doesn't speak English, according to Nathan. But those are basically the only, aside from the people that you see at the beginning of the movie when you see Domhnall Gleeson or Caleb at his job, the only other person you see in the movie is the helicopter pilot. And that's it. So that's the plot of the movie.
That's the plot of the movie.
Yeah. You've never seen it before,
Hilarity
so you can go
ensues.
first. What did you think of Ex Machina?
So not a lot goes on in this movie, I feel like, but this movie's awesome.
Okay.
I don't think it's like great, but I think it's very, very good. It does like it's basically a thriller at the end of the day, and I think it does the thriller elements good. And I think, the end, the conclusion, basically pays back and, is a good comeuppance for the characters and fits well within the story. So I do think it kind of lags and there's not a lot going on in the middle of the movie. It takes its time, but overall I like it a lot better than Her. So, I mean, I watched these movies back to back, so I had that to compare it to and thought it was a much superior, much better movie than Her. And so I thought it was very good. What'd you think?
This is a week where both episodes we agree 100%. I love, I don't know, I love Ex Machina. I think it's great as well, though. I don't know how much of a classic you could consider it or whatever, but I'm completely mesmerized by this movie. I have seen it before, and I remember liking it the first time, but unlike Her, I liked it at least as much as the first time I saw it, if not more. Whereas with Her, I was like, I really didn't care for it. But yeah, I love the look of the film. Alex Garland, after this, did, I guess, Annihilation,
Which is also, the story, I think, suffers because it's based off I think it's based off a novel. I think the story suffers, but I still think it's interesting movie and a really good looking movie.
It's okay.
in my
It is
opinion.
it is a good looking movie, but I'm not crazy about it. But this movie I really really like. So the Turing test we said
Yep.
we would get into is named after a guy named Alan Turing, who was a brilliant guy, brilliant British guy. That this Turing test is of course named after him, and the object or the objective is if you talk to a computer or an artificial intelligence, does can you tell whether or not it's human or not? If it can convince you that it's human, and with a typical Turing test, and they mentioned this in the movie, with a typical Turing
Yeah,
test, the computer or the artificial intelligence is not within your view. You cannot
Yeah.
see it, so it's hidden in some way. Because obviously, if you see that it's a computer, you go, "No, that's a computer. Of course, it's not a
You
human."
fail.
So the objective is to sight unseen determine whether or not this thing that you're communicating with is a computer or artificial intelligence or it's human. If it convinces you that it's human, it has passed the Turing test.
Yeah.
So
And I
that's
do
what that
like
is.
this movie's take on that, to where, because like you said, Domhnall Gleeson's character Caleb talks to Oscar Isaac's character Nathan and says that, I'm not supposed to see this.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, but think how much better this AI is if you know it's a computer,
Right.
but it still convinced
Still
you.
convinces
So
you.
I think that was a great take on that.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely Alan Turing is just a fascinating guy. I mean, if you're interested in computers or theoretical computer science, he's pretty much considered the father of artificial
And
intelligence.
that's in your
So-
wheelhouse, all that AI kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of AI. I did study it at one time, although I think I've forgotten just about everything I've ever learned. But I still find it fascinating. And there's some other concepts in this film, like Mary's Room is one where you have a person that is an expert in black and white, and they're finally given
yeah.
a chance to see color in the real world, kind of the implications of that. So there's other little artificial intelligence kind of thought experiments.
The difference between like knowing intellectually and actually like
Right.
feeling.
Right. What did you think about the performances in this film? So Domhnall Gleeson, Oscar Isaac,
thought-
and especially Alicia
Yeah.
Vikander.
Thought Domhnall Gleeson was pretty good. Not a lot was, I feel like not a whole lot was asked of him. Like he feels pretty. There's not a big range that he's asked to give in this movie, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Oscar Isaac probably stands out the most. He comes off as a very eccentric and also a very antagonistic character, and I think that suits him well, and he does that very well in this movie. Because the whole time you're like, dude, you invite this guy out, now you're being an asshole to him. But, for reasons and all that kind of stuff, he does it. He does very well. Alicia Vikander is good. I think she was nominated for Academy Award, wasn't she? And she got a lot of.
Don't know. I didn't.
She
look
got a
that up,
lot of
honestly.
praise for. I remember her portrayal in this movie. I thought she was good. I like I said, I feel like not a whole lot was asked of her. She also seemed like not very a dynamic character. So, but I thought it was good. But any of those guys stand out to you?
I mean, I think Alicia Vikander did a really good job as the android that is slowly sort of convincing Caleb, the Domhnall Gleeson character, that she wants out of this house, because that's what she's trying to do. Is she's in a room that she can't leave, and so she's basically held captive there, and she hates her creator. She hates Nathan Oscar Isaac. I said before we did this, I'm like, I got to look up these character names so that I don't say the actors' names, but I just keep saying both. I'm like, Oscar Isaac, Nathan, Caleb, Domhnall Gleeson. But
and if you didn't
I guess it helps keep it straight for.
And if you didn't look at those names, I wouldn't be able to say it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you did.
But no, I thought Alicia Vikander's character did go through a lot. Or maybe not a lot, but maybe more than you thought. But Domhnall Gleeson does just kind of play the patsy. Basically, I mean, he's just kind of this guy who's bewildered much of the time, I think.
Yeah.
And then Oscar Isaac's character, I found it kind of interesting. He just drinks all the time, and you're like, how does this alcoholic guy create this stuff? But I chalked it up to he's celebrating almost. Like he's finished with this artificial intelligence. Now he's going to kind of take a week off and let Caleb perform this Turing test, and he's just going to spend his time getting drunk and
being an asshole.
and being an asshole and lifting weights. He almost in a weird sort of way. I found it to be like Hemingway or something. He's kind of a stocky guy who drinks, but is still this genius kind of guy that is able to do these complex things. But I thought it was very interesting.
I kind of read it that way too, where he's just kind of like, he's like, I built this version. Now we're sending it off to QA. It's
Yeah.
getting tested.
So I'm having at least a week long, if not a month long
Binger.
celebration. Yeah, Binger.
But I do like how I mean, we're gonna kind of spoil a little bit, but I do like how when him and Domhnall Gleeson have their confrontation, and he's like, "I heard you." He's like, "I set up that camera. I know what you're doing." And then he's like, "Yeah, I did that yesterday."
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh!" Like drop the mic kind
Like,
of moment.
I
It's
guess
like,
we'll see.
"Ooh."
And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I already did that stuff." And it's like, "Oh, dang!" But the ending of the film again, I don't think we necessarily need to spoil it, but you're satisfied with the way that
And
what happens.
I do, and
Yeah.
I do, and I think the other thing that kind of happens after that, you kind of see it coming, but I was still very shocked and surprised by it, and thought it was very interesting, very cool.
So this film reminds me. I was talking about on Starman, or I'm sorry, not on Starman. On when we did Onward,
Yep.
how it kind of reminded me. At least the end of Onward reminded me of a Twilight Zone episode from the '80s called "Paladin of the Lost Hour."
Mm-hmm.
This movie reminds me of two different early
Demon with the
original
Glass Hand?
Twilight Zone, not Demon with a Glass Hand, but to the original Rod Serling Twilight Zone episodes. One is called The Lateness of the Hour, which is about androids in a home that are basically servants. And the other one is called The Howling Man. And in The Howling Man, a guy is lost in a storm. And he's out in the middle of nowhere, like presumably in the mountains somewhere. He's lost in the storm. He stumbles upon some kind of dwelling. And inside, there's all these bearded men that look like something straight out of the Bible or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they've captured Satan. And they tell this guy, no matter what he says, don't let him out. No matter what he says, don't let him
that's
out.
cool.
And so the whole episode, this guy's kind of left unattended. And Satan, or is it Satan? You don't really know, at least at first. He's kind of talking to him, and eventually he kind of convinces him, "You got to let me out of here. You got to let me out of here." And I felt like Ex Machina is very much that. She's basically, because there are power outages that occur every so often in the movie, and every time those power outages occur, all the cameras that Oscar Isaac can view Domhnall Gleeson with are shut down.
Yep.
So that's the only time that Alicia Vikander, Ava, can speak to Domhnall Gleeson in private. And every time those power outages occur, she tells him, "You can't trust him. You've got to get me out of here. I've got to do this." And so she's slowly but surely kind of convincing him to let her out.
Man, you just make me want to watch all the Twilight Zones. And I know I've said this before, but I feel like they're the grim fairy tales of our generation and of now.
Yeah.
It's just like you have these like little interesting kind of tidbits and stories and these turns that happen, and it's like a very there's a formula to it, but all of them are just so interesting. Like that sounds. I really want to see that episode now. That episode sounds
definitely
amazing.
check it out. Did you? So Alicia Vikander at one point puts on like a wig and clothes. Did you get some 11 vibes from Stranger Things? Because I did.
With the short, really
short hair.
Yeah.
Because Stranger Things came out after Ex Machina, so I wonder if they kind of were like, "Hey, I like that look. Let's use that."
I was trying to place who it was because going into the movie, I thought it was Ana de Armas who played Ava.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I thought that, but I did think that.
You were thinking of Blade Runner.
Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of like that kind of design too is also echoed in Alita Battle Angel, which when we did our Robert Rodriguez kind of review.
I need to see that. Yeah.
With the robotics, the cybernetics and the way that kind of looks. I think there's some echoes of that in there too. And, that's from a source material that's way older than Ex Machina. I do remember on the behind the scenes stuff for Ex Machina, they talk about how, for the parts where they CGI, there's hard lines. Like there's a hard black line here under a rib cage. And like on her forearms, there's one right here at the wrist and there's one up here. And it makes it very easy to paint that stuff out in post.
Yeah, okay.
So if those budding would-be filmmakers out there, take a note from that. And if you need to paint out aspects of a character or an actor, it helps to have kind of those hard lines that you can use to use for your lasso tool or whatever.
So were you satisfied with the special effects in Ex Machina?
I think it looks gorgeous.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I still think they hold up. It looks great.
Yeah, I agree. I get a very Stanley Kubrick kind of vibe from this film, which is
especially like the whole room bathed in red,
yes,
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, I like Kubrick. I mean, I like most of his films, so that's definitely a plus for me. Yeah.
And it's like a very cold movie, and I feel like you also in this movie feel like you're more of a voyeur rather than in the movie.
Yeah.
And I get that a lot too when I watch 2001. I feel like we're very much like outside looking in rather than a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, watching this movie this would be the second time that I've seen it. I can't stress enough how hypnotic I feel like it is, and how mesmerizing the entire movie is. The very quick moment at the beginning where he's at his job and he finds out he's won this contest, and then he's on the helicopter and he's at the compound, and
You're off to
we get
races.
going. Yeah, so it's boom, 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 which is good. and again, it just kind of entrances you, I feel. So. Yeah,
For sure.
I dig it. I dig it a lot. Alex Garland, we were talking about this beforehand. This was his first directorial effort, but he had written a lot of screenplays and stuff. Apparently, Danny Boyle and him
Did he do Sunshine?
He did Sunshine.
Yeah.
He did 28 Days Later. And he apparently wrote the novel of The Beach that ultimately became the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, which is a very polarizing film. People love it, people hate it. I like it too. I actually think it's so odd, but I like it. But I also like Danny Boyle, and of course he directed that as well as 28 Days Later.
I like Sunshine. I don't like the last third of Sunshine.
I think I'm in complete agreement with you, and I think a lot of people are in complete agreement with you. I think it falls apart. As it's going along, but he also did Never Let Me Go. He did the screenplay, not directed it, which I didn't care for. Never Let Me Go. Apparently, that's a pretty
Is that the Mark Romanic movie? No,
I don't know, but it's got Carey Mulligan.
Yes, it is the Mark Romanic movie.
Andrew Garfield is in it, and Keira Knightley, where they donate body parts or something to keep others going.
I saw that at the New Beverly in L.A. Along with Fahrenheit. It's based off the book.
451?
451, because it was directed by the French filmmaker
Truffaut.
Truffaut, yeah. I watched those two back to back.
And Never Let Me Go.
It's slow, but
I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's slow.
And then he wrote the screenplay for Dredd, the new Dredd.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Which, I dig it. I love Judge Dredd.
I have not seen the new Dredd.
Yeah, that needs to go on the list.
We should either do that with The Raid, because I hear they're similar.
Yeah.
Or we should do that with the Sylvester Stallone Dredd.
You seen The Raid though, right?
I've seen both of those, but I don't know. I think it'd be interesting.
No. I agree. I was gonna say, if you haven't seen The Raid, I was gonna recommend it. But yeah, I think The Raid and Dredd are similar. Yeah, for sure. And then as we mentioned, he's gone on to direct Annihilation, which is okay.
It gets weird in the ending, but it's still like the idea is there. The way it's shot is very well done.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then Devs was a TV show. You said.
Yeah, it said he has a new TV show out on Hulu called Devs that also is in this AI kind of in the same. I don't want to say same kind of world, but it's in this kind of sci-fi kind of world, where they're trying to figure out. If I remember correctly, they're trying to figure out. I'm not going to even say because I may get it wrong, but it's. I think they're trying to figure out how humans think or replicate human consciousness with AI. Kind of. I think it's the same kind of thing. Is my understanding of Devs.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's all I have. But if you have not seen Ex Machina, we recommend it.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of good things. About Ex Machina leading into it, and even with those high praises and knowing that it was well received, it's still kind of held up because sometimes we talk about having these high expectations kind of leave the movie lacking, but this one still delivered
for sure. Alrighty, moving on. We are going to answer a viewer question, and this actually is not necessarily along the same theme as what we have talked about this week as far as artificial intelligence, although you might have an example of such a film. But the question is, what movie has to be seen? You can watch it at home all you want, but it has to be seen at least one time in your life in an actual movie theater. So again, you can watch it at home, doesn't matter. But this movie, you really, really got to see it on the big screen at least one time. What is a movie that you can think of that you got to see in the theater?
I know. That's a good one. I will say there's one movie there's two movies I'm very thankful that I've seen in theaters.
Okay.
And that's Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade.
Yep.
Very thankful I saw those in theaters. Actually, I'm thankful we saw The Thing in theaters. Like, I thought that did and played very well.
Yeah.
But the first movie that kind of comes to my mind and movies that we have to see in theaters, and it's a recent movie, so I might get crucified for this, I guess. But I think Christopher Nolan's Inception, it was a must see in theaters. I think the spectacle of it, and say what you will about, I think some people don't have as good a view of the movie since it's come out. I still think it holds up, and I still think it's a good story. But the spectacle, he shot a lot of it. He shot a lot of it in IMAX. I think the spectacle holds up, and it's just one of those movies that I think is very rewarding seeing in movie theaters. And I know Chris Nolan is a big proponent of people seeing his movies in theaters, and I think he definitely delivers the goods when he tries to make a movie for the theaters and stuff. I feel like you're disappointed in that.
No,
answer.
I'm not. I was, when you said that, I was thinking I don't think I saw Inception in the movie theater. I think the first time I saw it was at home.
I just remember like the world folding over and like all those things exploding and like the slow motion falling back. Like all that stuff to me just like it was just a grand spectacle that I am glad I saw it in theaters for the first time.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. The first movie, when I was posed this question, or when I read this question, the first movie that immediately came to mind for me was Die Hard. I love Die Hard, and I saw it as a teenager in theaters when it came out. That dates me, I know, but I saw it at our little local cinema, and I didn't really know a whole lot about it. I vaguely knew who Bruce Willis was because I think I had watched Moonlighting a few times, although it wasn't really my cup of tea, at least back then, because I was probably too young to really understand it or get everything in it. So I go to see Die Hard, and it's got this guy that plays a goofy kind of detective agency guy on TV, and to see him as John McClane in Die Hard, I mean, it just kicked ass. Like that movie, it's so exciting, and it's still, I mean, I love it now. I mean, we both love it, right? It's a great movie.
It's one of the best action movies.
But I just remember being blown away by whatever sound system they had. And it's probably some rinky-dink stereo system back in this little podunk theater. But still,
compared to like a 13-inch TV.
Yes, exactly. Compared to a non LCD screen like we have nowadays. And obviously we have very large television screens these days. But yeah, compared to something like that, it was amazing.
I've never seen Die Hard in theaters.
Oh no, you definitely we gotta check it out.
See if Alamo does something like that.
I think maybe Die Hard and Die Hard with a Vengeance are the only two that I've seen in theaters. I don't think I saw Die Hard 2.
Those are the two good ones.
Yeah, or in the other ones in the theater. Yeah, especially after With a Vengeance.
I think
they're pretty.
The
pitiful.
best Bruce Willis movie to see in theaters is Hudson Hawk. Hudson Hawk.
Hudson Hawk's fun. I don't know if you have to see it in a theater, but some other movies that kind of spring out to me, and I'm not intentionally doing this because we have talked about science fiction films. They legitimately, I was going to say 2001 because I actually did see that at the Paramount Theater in Austin, because I don't know if they still do it. Obviously, they're not doing it right now because all the theaters are closed, but they used to do every summer. They would do like a summer series of classic films. So I got to see, because you could pay like $30 or something for a booklet of a bunch of tickets. I don't remember how many you got, 10 or 15 or something like that. And any movies that you wanted to go see, you just tear off a ticket out of the booklet and you would go. So I saw 2001 that way. I saw some old Fred Astaire movies that way. I saw Shaft, the original Shaft, not the ones with Samuel L. Jackson in the theater. But 2001 was definitely very cool seeing it. I would say Blade Runner in the same kind of vein. Blade Runner is such a visually, and Blade Runner 2049 both are so visually amazing. No matter what you think about
anything shot by Roger Deakins.
Yeah.
Skyfall.
And that brings up a good point. You've got movies like 1917,
which Kirby and I wanted to see in theaters, but we never got a chance to.
Yeah, and of course now you can't. But 1917, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I still thought it was cool seeing it in the theater. Or a movie like Saving Private Ryan, a lot of war movies that are very in your face and visceral and have bullets whizzing by and all these different sound effects and things panning from speaker to speaker or whatever, things like that. I think, again, you can have a great home theater setup and still get a lot out of a movie like that. But I think, because I saw Saving Private Ryan in the theater, I think twice. Yeah. And seeing movies like that in the theater are just, incredible, right? They're so in your face and just you're there with it.
And I wanted to call out some other movies that I felt like I would get in trouble, or not get in trouble, but I feel like I would be upset if I didn't mention the opening scene in The Dark Knight with the bank heist in IMAX was breathtaking.
Yeah, I remember
when he
seeing that.
jumps out when he slides out the window on the railing was amazing. And then also that first scene with Bane in the plane was like, I'm scared of heights, and whenever the whole of the plane just drops out and you just see him like dangling over ground, super scary. The Burj Khalifa stuff that Brad Bird shot in Ghost Protocol is amazing.
I was
all done
just
in
thinking
IMAX.
about that. Yeah.
Kirby won't let me go see Gone with the Wind anymore in theaters because I embarrassed her during that movie.
Gone with the Wind?
Wasn't it Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, the Civil War. Yeah.
She got mad at me.
Oh, you went to the theater to see that?
Yeah, she got really mad at me.
Okay.
There's a lot of directors that are doing things with IMAX, and I want to say even the newest Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, with the jump, they had some. Did they use IMAX cameras? I want to say they used tiny IMAX cameras for his when he did the Halo jump out of the plane and stuff.
That's cool.
So yeah, sometimes some directors will shoot things in large format or have spectacle that is very interesting to see and definitely worth making your way to the movie theater to watch.
Yeah, and I think going kind of the opposite direction of that, some older black and white films that are really, really beautiful and have really, really beautiful cinematography and beautifully composed shots are worth seeing in the theater. The reason I bring that up is because I saw the movie The Third Man in theaters, not directed by Orson Welles, but has Orson Welles in it. It's directed by Carol Reed. But I saw that, I think, again, maybe at the Paramount. And a movie like that is just so breathtaking to look at with the black and white cinematography. It looks really cool. So definitely some movies like that are check out. Movies you could skip in a theater would be Freddy Got Fingered or something like that.
Chair of the Board.
Chair of the Board with Carrot Top.
Which
you can watch that at home.
Which I saw in theater.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was one of I think the movie theater. I was working at the movie theater at the time. I was one of 3 or 4 people that purchased a ticket to see that movie its entire run.
Oh man! So at some point we'll have to do an episode where we talk about, well, maybe not the worst movie you've seen in theaters, but because I can recall going to see. I'm getting way off topic here. I can recall going and seeing movies where I was like the only person in the theater, or like it was me and like one other person, or something like that. Those are also kind of interesting theatrical experiences because you're like, does this movie just really suck, or does nobody know about it, or what's going on here?
We definitely have one of those, and I also have a small story I want to share. I was working in a movie theater, and I love movies. Obviously, we have a podcast of movies. I used to go see movies before my shift at the movie theater, so I'd dress up in my uniform and go to the movie theater and see it. I was watching a movie, and the movie reel broke. Yeah. And then this is back when we actually had film reels and all that kind of stuff. And they turned on the house lights, and everyone looked back because I just kind of snuck in and got in late. So I was staying right next to the exit. Everyone got back and started looking at me. Oh, and I'm wearing my uniform, and I'm like,
you're like, fix it, man.
I'm like, I'm not working yet.
I'm not clocked in yet.
Yeah. I was like, I'll go check and see what's going on, guys. And
nice.
I had to go run up and talk to the usher booth and figure out what was going on.
That again, that reminds me of a lot of stories, which we'll cover at another time. But that I've definitely had some experiences where reels broke, like the final reel of a film broke, and they didn't fix it, or they couldn't fix it. So it's just like, well, you got to go home, and you didn't see the end of the movie. And then I've been in movies where the volume, like somebody must have elbowed the volume to the max to 11, and we're all in there doing like this. So yeah, it's interesting times. It's so
interesting. We'll have to have a nostalgia about the movie theater kind of stuff
for sure.
Because we love seeing movies in the movie theater as long as people don't talk. But also it's changed so much with online ticketing and buying seats and all that kind of stuff that sometimes stumbling or falling into a movie is you miss out sometimes.
For sure.
All right. Well, that was our review on Ex Machina and what movies should be seen in theaters. If you have a movie that you think should be seen in theaters or should have been seen in theaters that we didn't mention, shoot us an email. Let us know. Leave a comment below if you're watching us on YouTube. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer and give us our wonderful wisdom and knowledge on, shoot that to us. realshame@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Do all that kind of stuff if you enjoy the show. And we will see you next week when we're bringing you another movie review. And we will see you then. Thank you, guys.